And then you see the real estate market, it's like it's pushing to move. And it moves a little bit and then it goes back. Right? A little, it comes a little bit forward and we think, okay, things are going to start moving. And then something happens in the newsreel that takes the attention off of that and brings it to this other catastrophe or chaos that's happening. It's it's an interesting deal right now.
This is pretty much it.
I think this is us.
Yeah.
So can I ask a question of everybody who's here? Because I think about it in terms of commercial always, because, what else can I think about it in terms of? But, so as far as, and I know that there's like a housing construction shortage, people aren't, like, there's not like the classic homes that are taking like huge blocks of, neighborhoods there, and then they just build, 300 houses or whatever. I think that's sort of not happening. But there's still construction happening. So, for example, what I'm thinking is, let's say we'll take a estate group who has a extremely close relationship with construction. Okay. So anything and everything that builds, and I used to work, so that's how I know. But the brokers always get the listing, like period. So I mean, is there any opportunity like that with commercial, even though that's not really like
residential?
That's what I meant. Residential. Sorry.
Either way.
That's what I mean.
So
So, like, you have an alliance with the developers. Say, hey, I want to be your go-to person, and
with the small builders.
Right.
Yeah, the big builders, they just hire salespeople. And
but what's to stop you guys from coming in as a block, meeting with whoever it is? That guy, what's his name? Mr. Classic Homes dude. Jeff Smith. Yeah. Like 10 of you come in, you have a meeting with him, Rob's there or whatever, and you go, listen, we really want to be your go-to team. Here's how we're going to make it worth your while. This is why it's to your advantage to do it. And give us a chance. We'll prove it to you. And then it's a no-brainer. You don't have to think about it. You have...
I think they've tried it with a few.
I think it's because those big people like Classic and stuff, they already have their whole...
They have a sales
portfolio.
They got a sales force.
So going
in-house you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see what you're saying.
They have like advertising already going out.
So Vantage...
And a whole operation around it.
Most of the builders have their own. The small guys will hire somebody like... Black Oak Homes, it's, who's the guy?
Didn't we try and do that over off of...
Gary Martinez.
We had one with Master Built Homes.
Off of Stetson and...
off of Stetson Hill.
Yeah.
The Palomino Ranch. He had like... He kept trying to sell them, and it was the hard time to sell, so they weren't selling, so he was trying to get tons of different realtors to like stand in these models and, list them on the MLS and try to sell them. And so we got hooked up with that, and he's like, "Hey, I got 15 that I need to sell. If you could, I'll give you 2 or 3 or whatever to list, and if you sell those, then I'll kind of open up the other ones to you."
Yeah, I mean that's how you start.
But I mean,
it didn't work. I don't think
it didn't work.
Yeah,
because
it was just so. I think at that time it was just so hard to sell anything. That was like the worst time in the market.
Yeah.
So how do you do? Okay, so even though that's like we have downturns in commercial, obviously, I mean you're not the only guy, but how do you do value add so that they realize that the market sucks. If it's not. You're not the ones that are having the problem. It's, overall everybody's having a problem. But here's how you do the value add stuff. So I know like Rob's like super creative about, I know everybody's
You have to
trying.
grow your
I just
buy
know
side.
him more. So,
buyers.
huh?
You have to grow your buyer portfolio.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, don't you say, okay, here are my stats.
typically...
I sell this many homes in a shitty market regardless compared to...
It depends on the year.
Yeah, but I also think on this specific one is, he built them, going into the bad market, and so he wanted the top dollar, for these things, and we had just started coming down. So they're way higher than what people wanted to pay for them.
So they don't let. So
he
the,
couldn't budge because he built it for a certain price.
what? So okay. So he needs an X percentage return on his investment.
Right.
But that's not chiseled in granite either. So a lot of like in
Right,
commercial,
it changes, it's like,
it's like, oh, we need. So typically, a commercial developer wants between 7 and 10% return on whatever he builds. So if I don't know what residential is, do you know?
No, I'm guessing probably
that's the same.
similar.
I think.
Yeah.
So you need to be more on the low end, or you need to have some loss leaders. You need to have like, we'll do the 6% return. We're willing to do that. We need to get a little bit more interest, and see where that takes you, because 0% return on your investment isn't getting you very far over time. And like, how long are you willing to sit there and go, I
Right.
demand to get 8% or whatever it is?
Yeah. If you would have
So-
taken 6% 6 months ago, you're ahead of the game
That's
because
exactly.
now nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
So-
was at the time when there were a ton of builders here that were underwater too.
Yeah.
There was-
What are we talking? What are we talking about time wise? What like
This
what
is like,
year?
was
like
last
maybe
year, right?
year and a half
About
ago.
a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So the builders were underwater.
Yeah, 'cause I know of
we
a-
stood the model like every single day for 6 months, and like not a single person came in, so we couldn't even get anybody in the model. And then the builder, he was also, we kept bringing him ideas like, hey, well, what if we do some incentives and stuff like that to try to get people in, like the big builders do. We'll buy your rate down, whatever. He would always just say, well, just bring me an offer, and then we'll talk about what incentives I can give them. And we're like, well, no, we should have incentives and then market those incentives.
Yeah.
to get
Exactly.
people in,
Yeah.
100%.
Not just
we gotta
do it
get
the
them
other way
different
around.
deals for different
It's
folks.
kind of a little hard to work with
Yeah.
him because he, it's just like, well, just bring me somebody, and then we'll negotiate the incentives.
Yeah, I
and
know
stuff,
people.
you
I mean,
know,
there's
A lot
still.
of people are like
It
that.
was
Yeah,
a
well, I mean,
little
that's
hard
they're
to
cutting
work.
their nose off to spite their face, and it's stupid because they're like outsmarting themselves.
Well, and the investor business right now is huge right here too.
mean,
That's what's doing a lot of business.
What are
right
we talking about?
Like investors, so I don't know if you guys know who Matt Fanella is. He's a Southern California guy. He's been following all these crashes for like 30 years. And so he goes and he buys the builders that are underwater. He goes and buys in bulk. He buys all their stuff.
for penny,
For
a
like
lot
36 million, he'll get like, you know what I mean? And he'll take all of their stuff and then sell it. And
less.
that's
that doesn't help.
real
You
estate
guys.
agents. Yeah, that's
all.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but that's what's going on out there.
No, I get
right
it.
now.
I'm just saying that sucks.
Yeah.
because-
I think part of this specific guy with Master Build was Master Build, they build custom homes, and so he had taken on this smaller development.
Yeah, and
that
it was a weird
that
little
he had-
development.
He had owned that lot for, I don't know, since 2011 or something, and so he finally was like, okay, I'm gonna start putting some townhouses on here, and that's like the first time he's ever done anything like that. He's normally like a custom builder, so I think he was just a little bit outside of what he's used to, and so he didn't kind of know how to go
It seemed
about
like
it
it was
as
just
much.
scrunched together too. Like there's not a lot of room within that area that they built in there.
Yeah.
So it's like getting as many as you can in this small place.
We
Yeah.
gave him the option to, like, the idea to maybe sell it as a 2-in-1, because he said that he would let two of them go for like 400,000 a piece, which was
Yeah.
way under where he was currently asking. I think he was asking for like 450, 480
Yeah.
in the beginning. So he was willing to come down off the price, if
model
it
was a
made
little-
sense. So I was thinking maybe
the
we
model
market
that he
it
was
as
building
an
was
investment,
real compact,
like a duplex, but
and
it
real
wasn't
tight.
assessed as
You
that,
think?
so he'd have to go
Yeah.
through the county paperwork
You
of
would never
changing
be
that
able to do
15,
that.
or he
In a
would have to
townhouse.
just sell it as a portfolio, right? So
Essentially, he just wanted us to find a buyer and then bring it to him, and then
It looks like
negotiate
there's-
whatever they could negotiate. And
It's too squirrely, right?
it's
Why
kinda
would you
hard.
waste your time doing
Wonder
that?
if
I
it's
mean,
built
I
yet.
brought probably
It looks like it
like
probably
3 or
is.
4 different buyers to, at least look
Or
at
you
it
had
and
to
say,
rent
hey,
some of them
this
out.
is the price that he's asking.
Yeah.
He's, negotiable or whatever. If we just, send him something and they're like, the layout doesn't work, or, just, I mean, they're townhouses, so and for almost 500,000.
Yeah.
well, and
So-
the garages weren't
And-
attached.
And they were small. They were
I
like
know.
But
the floor
it had a
plans
garage.
were really
Yeah.
small.
A
And
lot of townhomes. do
yeah,
that.
it was a
Yeah.
weird
Well,
floor
they
plan.
were like
For
almost
$500,000.
Yeah, right?
The biggest one was like almost 3,000 square feet. So
Yeah, and they were pretty large. Like the second largest development was, I think, from the Georgetown Square townhomes off Constitution Academy. Those are pretty large. Those are the last time I knew.
Oh,
any
those are
developers.
ancient though.
So cost to
Yeah.
build
Those were
something
built in,
that's
the
like
60s,
that,
I think, 70s.
and they're wanting $500,000 for it in a market where it's so tight. I mean, there's nobody that says developers are geniuses either, but I mean, they're just not. Especially residential. I mean, I'm sorry, but you cannot survive if you're a commercial developer and you're making decisions like that. And it's like, okay, I know there's no market. I'm going to go build something that nobody really wants.
no,
and
that
I'm going
doesn't
to
happen.
charge some stupid amount of money for it. And okay, let's go. I mean, nobody does
That
that.
doesn't.
Yeah,
That's
well,
Yeah.
he started building when it was like really good, so I don't think he was expecting it to crash the way it did, and so he, the first half of the development he sold pretty good. It was just like the
It shifted
last
quickly.
like
'Cause didn't
10
the-
or 15 where he was really
Didn't the rates
struggling.
just go like from low? They like went from like 2s and 3s, and then
Oh, yeah,
all the way up
it's
to like 5
7.
something.
Yeah, it was like
It was a
3,
huge
3.5.
jump.
Yeah.
And it went to 5.25.
Yeah, there was no
virtually in 2 days.
Yeah, it never
That was
gradually increased.
April
It just
of
went boom,
20.
and then it was there.
It's funny
3 years ago.
see, there's just so many more dwelling
Crazy.
units than there are commercial buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that would not fly at all in commercial.
Yeah.
Because all the brokers would go, "What the hell are you doing? How come you just tripled your price from yesterday?" Or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
And they're like, "Why would they trust you if you're that greedy?"
Mm-hmm.
Because really, there's an element of greed that people kind of get turned off.
Absolutely.
And so it would be my job. It's always my job to go, hey, this was listed last week for X, and now it's Y, and
And why is that?
there's no difference. I mean, really isn't, unless interest rates go to 2%, or something like that. You can afford to charge more, but given like whatever the metrics are at the time, you really can't justify that jump.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how they do that. I get away with that in residential. I just think it's really absurd.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
listening.
I think in this specific instance, it wasn't like so much greed because he's willing to, like he said, come from like 485 to 400. It's just
Market
he didn't
strategy.
want to drop the price to let people know that. He just wanted to say it's 485, but I'll take 400 if you come.
See, that's
and
a problem.
You can't do that.
That is
nobody,
such a
that's-
problem.
Nobody
Yeah.
like knew
That's
about
like-
it, so nobody was coming in. Nobody,
Right.
That's like
and-
being at an Indian bazaar in India.
Exactly.
Hey, buddy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's wheel India, buddy. You
Hey,
know what I
lady,
mean? Like, you
come
can't-
here. I
Yeah,
can do
that's
this
not.
for yeah.
That's not a way to do
Right.
business
Yeah.
like that.
So everybody,
With real
nobody
estate.
even was
Terrible
interested.
idea.
Yeah.
Terrible business model.
So yeah, absolutely.
What was happening in like 21 and 22, well, 20 and 21, because 22, like April of 22 is when the rates went up. It started to go up. But before that, there was a couple builders, local, LOKOL homes, would, I heard it 2 or 3 times from people on like a Facebook group of realtors where been under contract since January, closing in December, and in November, the builder pulls the contract, cancels it, raises the price $50,000, gives that buyer the first right of refusal, but it's like,
It's all greed.
and so those people are about to move, and now they have no place to move. And it's perfectly legal because the builders write their own contracts and they give themselves, a resale contract, the seller, there is no seller's remorse. Seller's remorse, you become the defendant. And the judge says, yeah, you're going to have to sell your house to him and you're going to have to pay for his lawyer. So,
So specific performance kind of stuff.
yeah,
Ish.
seller specific performance, 100%. So, but the builder contracts, they don't do that. So they, a lot of it had to do with, this is when material prices went ridiculously high and they weren't meeting their margins, but they were screwing over the consumer. Back in the mid 2000s, before the 08 crash, builders were having price increases once a month, like Saddle Tree on Pine Creek and those higher end builders. I remember, I forget the guy's name, but he was a realtor at Remax group, real estate group, I think. But he bought a Saddle Tree home, contracted it, and by the time they built it, he sold it because the price went up like $85,000. So his contract price, it's finished, now the
Wow.
new value, so he closes on it and puts it on the market and sells 85,000 more than he
I
paid
mean,
for it.
that's, you know, like, there's, I won't even say who this is, but there's like commercial, there's a few, not, maybe one, I can, but anyway, commercial broker who sees a building, they identify a building and they go, I'm gonna put this under contract and I know I can sell it for 20% more before it even closes. Is that ethical? Of course it is not, because he controls the property, he also controls the buyer.
So he'll close at
He doesn't
10
close.
at 10 o'clock?
He just agrees, well, yeah,
And
yeah,
then close
Yeah.
on the
yeah,
sell side?
yeah. So.
That used to happen all the time.
So unethical.
Yeah.
During 2008, short sale, double closing.
This guy's been doing it for 40
and
years.
it
That's
got
why he
to
does
a
it.
point
That's what he
where
does.
now,
Well, it's kind of like wholesalers now.
yeah,
Wholesalers, they'll get it under contract. They're not licensed or anything, but they'll get it on contract, and then they'll say, "Hey, my inspection time is, let's say 14 days." But really, they're not taking 14 days to inspect. They're taking 14 days to find another end buyer.
And to
that
buy
can
her, and
sell
then they
the
do another
You're not a
contract.
broker, how are you doing that?
We get
That's
that
what
all
I
the
say.
time.
I say that should 100%
I get calls
be illegal.
all
It should be
the
illegal.
time.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
pisses me off. I hate
It's-
wholesalers.
I do
If
too,
it-
but
because-
we do them.
But you know, the problem
We
is
insure 'em.
that you guys, we're regulated.
You guys.
Dude.
Don't
Yeah.
insure
Yeah.
them.
I know the title companies have a different. I mean, you're not really breaching anything because you're just closing the deal and doing your due diligence stuff. But whoever this wholesale is, I don't even know what the hell that is. I've never even heard of that.
Just a middleman.
So
It's
let's
just-
say I'm selling a house for 400,000, and they normally go after the properties that have that need work. For flippers.
Yes.
Flippers usually get most of their deals from
where the
wholesalers, so
fraud shows up,
they'll
too.
just send out mass mailers
I
and texts
gotta-
and be like, "Hey, we'll pay cash today for 300. We'll close in 7 days or whatever," and they'll get the
else is
lucky person that goes, "Okay, fine, I'll sell it to you for 300,000," and then they go to like an end buyer and they're like, "Hey, I got this house for 300,000. I'll sell it to you for 310."
yeah, I got an email.
so wrong. It's like a mini auction.
Yeah.
That,
Uh-huh.
Oh my god.
So I had a
But this is
closing.
where we see a lot of fraud coming in
Absolutely.
too. Is that's
So this wholesaler guy, is he
a
licensed?
lot of red flags.
No, they're
Is he
not licensed.
bond? He's
Nope,
nothing.
they're
Nothing.
not.
Nothing.
Okay,
They just
so-
get Joe
They just
Schmo
have-
out on the
They
street.
just have a
How
contract.
Colorado,
Yeah.
the most regulated state ever, you have to be licensed to tie shoes. I mean,
Or to talk real estate money.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
because they're selling a contract, not selling a house.
So
Yes.
I
It's
got-
a real
I got
estate
an
contract, though.
email.
It's not just any old contract.
Right.
Contract, and the consumer is a poor schlub who wants a house
And has
right?
no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not.
They have
right.
no idea that it's
Yeah.
really that kind of a transaction. That it's not just from the household seller to the buyer.
Yeah.
Right? There's a middleman
Yeah, there's
there.
a middleman, and he's just.
And you don't have to disclose that. They don't have to disclose that, what they're doing.
They should.
I don't
but-
know if they do.
The double closing, they have to disclose now.
Okay.
But back in the day when, 2008, it was the Wild West. So you have a short sale where the bank is eating 60 grand, and they've agreed to it.
Yep.
And so the short sale specialist buys the house for 200,000, right? And they're eating 60 grand. And then they go across, they buy it, close on it at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then drive across the street to another title company or down the hall, and they sell it to somebody that's already under contract. So they're putting something under contract
Can they
when
do the
they
hold
don't
open
even
too?
own it,
And they hold it
but
open.
they do it with,
so they get a
so
small,
both
shorter
the seller
rate, title
knows.
rate.
So then they sell it for $50,000 profit. So they made $50,000 in 12 minutes.
Yeah, and then on that front end, we'll still issue the policy,
Uh-huh.
or they'll hold it open.
Yeah.
Right. So then they get even a better rate on the title as well.
So and the first lender that's taken a short sale, nobody ever disclosed that. now they have to disclose to all parties involved on both sides of the
Good.
deal.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
because-
you gotta keep people honest.
Yeah.
Because it was like, so I helped, my neighbor who was a real estate agent, thank God, and I would help him with his contracts because, Dave, you can type. Holy cow, man, I can't type. And basically I'm saying, okay, Mike, you can't do this. He had me in there to keep him out of jail.
Yeah.
Because as my wife says, you're a rule follower. Yeah, that's why I'm never the defendant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, isn't it easier to be a roof follower than this weird scheming?
Oh,
Yeah,
sort of
that's too much
twisted-
energy.
I tell my client,
much
dude,
bad
dude,
energy.
I don't care what you think that 45-degree angle is. We have to disclose it. And we have to know what it is before we patch it. Because I don't want to lay awake at night for the next 17 years worried about being sued.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, stop. So it was, I'm just going, how is this legal? And then,
I
you know,
think
when the
that's
dust settled,
why.
it wasn't.
I think that's why we will insure it because of that. That they now that they have to disclose.
Now they have to disclose.
what kind of transaction this is.
Yeah, so
But, you know-
wholesalers, if they're trying to wholesale a listing from an agent and they're using a contract, they have to disclose it. 'Cause by default, our contracts are not assignable.
Yes.
So we would have to write in there that
There is a
This
box,
is an
though.
assignable contract.
yeah, that's an assignable
So-
contract. So it would kind of disclose it there, but a lot of the times the wholesalers aren't working with an agent. They're just finding the random person out there who's not listed
Who's in
or anything,
distress
who's in
or whatever.
distress, and just saying, "Hey, I have this buyer who can buy your house."
And they can
And then-
they do a lot of it through the foreclosure stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So
That's-
I
But
got
my
an
thought
email.
is they're really selling a house without a license.
Yeah.
You know?
I got an email from, I got this because I'm a realtor.
What?
And it says, hey, everyone, it's me, Jen Way. I know your cousin Am.
Amway.
So it says, I'm the principal in a valid and assignable purchase agreement here in Colorado Springs. I'm offering this agreement to another cash buyer. Call me if you hope to see it. See you all Thursday when you can see it. So suggested starting price $358. So she's probably gonna make, I don't know, 10 grand on the deal or something. So she's gonna assign it to someone else for a different price, and that's how she's gonna make her dough. Realtor opinion ARV is $475. So it's going out to people that are looking to invest or people that are investors. See, we get these because I'm gonna acquire homes. So they either think that we do investments, or I've actually
Or we buy
Cash
thought
or-
we were a builder.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, what neighborhood you guys building? I go,
Sesame Street.
so yeah. It's
interesting.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many.
I think wholesalers are scummy.
Yeah, I don't like dealing with them. They call me all the time to see if we do that kind of stuff, and it's like, yeah, we do. I keep it real short,
and the
and I
banks
never
are
hear
unloading
back from them.
their REOs to wholesalers because it's
Really?
like,
'Cause it's-
shit, I can clear 50 properties in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Boom.
For me as a title guy, it's a red flag. The second they call me, I don't like doing that. I don't want to be part
Yeah,
of those
same with
kind of
the-
transactions.
So what do you do to
Subject
protect
to
yourself
people.
more?
I can't really do anything because we still offer insurance,
Okay.
all right? So,
Yeah, it's
but
it's
we
a different-
leave, but we do actually, I mean, the closer should be savvy enough to know what the red flags are, what is good and what is
I
not.
didn't understand what you said. We leave it open. You leave this title policy.
They do a hold open, like for investment properties and stuff,
Okay.
right? Because they're not going to be the end owner, the real estate agent or the investor. There's going to be a different owner at the end.
I see.
So we give them a different rate, right? They pay a little bit up front and then it transfers over to the new buyer.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
There's like another thing like wholesaling called subject to, which you guys probably
we don't insure
do
that.
but that's
Subject to what?
subject to. So they so what they'll do is they'll buy a house, and they'll close on the house, change the title over to the other person's name, but they won't release the name of the loan.
On the loan,
On
yeah,
the
they'll
loan.
keep the loan,
Oh.
and they're supposed
so
to
they'll
pay
just say,
the
hey,
loan.
we'll pay you guys,
Yes.
whatever the loan amount is, you just keep paying the loan. But they take the house in their name.
Yes, and
So
then
they're
that screws up the person's credit down the road.
That's like an owner carry-ish thing.
And they can always
Kind of, but
Sort of,
It's
but
on
the
the
bank
loan.
still,
it's
so they sell their house and I'm still paying my mortgage, basically.
they
Yeah.
say that
So
they'll
I'm
take the
gonna
mortgage
sell
over.
my house
you,
subject
you still have
to.
all the liability of the loan and everything.
Yeah.
And they
the
don't
subject
go-
to person could then just stop paying you.
Oh,
and
and
then-
they
yeah,
don't-
but then you get the house back.
They don't
Right?
go to the lender.
You don't get the house back.
No,
Because
No.
it's in their name. They bought it. They bought the house.
So Joe
But the
Scumbag
loan
buys
is still
it.
under the original lender. The lender.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you put something in the contract that says if you default on your obligation, then you forfeit your ownership interest?
Because it's a lot of those
Yeah,
scammer
they just
type
don't. They
people
don't
who
do
are
that.
taking advantage of
Well,
other
and
people.
what they do is, if they'll not, if they stop paying, if they I can't afford it anymore, they just walk,
Yeah,
and it forecloses,
And
and the seller that they bought
the
it from
previous owners
is
hit.
still on the mortgage.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I mean, I don't know
We
about
don't-
the
Let's-
lender.
so
We don't
let's say he
insure that
paid-
stuff. We
Okay,
don't.
but he pays off. Let's say he pays off the loan,
If he pays off the loan.
and then it still is owned by this other person, and they get the benefit of a free and clear house at that point.
well, no,
well,
but
they're paying the loan.
So Joe Scumbags.
Who's they?
The new the new buyer.
The new buyer.
But you just said if they don't pay it, they're still the owner of record.
They're the owner
But
of
the
record.
mortgage-
but not the mortgagee of record.
It's the previous owner.
Yeah,
It's
so let's
still
say
there.
the mortgagee's paying for deadbeat.
No,
new-
the new buyer,
Yeah.
subject to, is paying the mortgage.
But what if they
but it's-
stop
That's
paying?
not in his name.
But it's still on the other people's name. If they stop paying,
Yes.
then
that's
those
what I wanna
people
know.
get burned.
So they're buying the property without going to the lender and saying, we're going to become the new
Yeah.
owner. Can we assume this loan?
What the hell would you do
Right?
that for?
Yeah.
Well, those
Why
are
would
the,
anybody do that?
those are the
Doesn't
same
make
people.
any
Those are the
sense.
people that are stuck.
Those are
you
the-
know,
that they don't have a
They
choice.
can't
Right.
sell their house.
that are
Like they're underwater or something, and
Yeah.
and somebody's like, "Hey, well, I'll just make your payments. You
And-
just give me the title of your house."
and you know, and it's the and the
God.
the normal consumer has no idea about foreclosure, any of that stuff. They may have gotten
Well, the normal
the letter.
realtor doesn't know.
Right? They may have gotten the letter, but a lot of people don't know what to do. They get embarrassed, and then they just write it out and lose the property.
Okay. Wow. Did you just come from a closing?
I did.
Good job.
About time I'll get my horse going on the.
On the derby.
That's
Nice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's-
Yeah, Rob, I don't know if you heard earlier, but I was saying I'm so slow right now that my transaction coordinator fired me.
Shut up. Exactly. That would definitely be slow.
It's definitely interesting. Everything that's happening.
What are you guys just talking about?
We were talking about subject to.
Oh, subject to.
We were talking about
Wholesalers.
yeah, the
yeah.
wholesalers, all that, and then she had Susan had a good question about. Ask him your question again
About the
the builders.
The builder.
Yeah, builders, like, just, I mean, like I said, I was like, I think in terms of commercial. So, how does this translate into potentially you guys, similar capitalizing on things like relationships with a builder? So, because I know that there's not a ton of things being built in any one development, or there's not like a Classic Homes coming in and doing 500 whatever. But if you came in, with a team, and you said, "We want to be your go-to brokers," and maybe you offer them a better rate until you prove yourself. We're going to be able to give you this discount. We're not going to take 3%. We're going to take 2%, 2.5%, whatever it is. But those are guarantees of listings. Everything they build will become your listing, period, because that's what you have agreed to. So those are things you don't have to go find. So are you willing to take a hit on the commissions at the beginning until you say, hey, we'll do this for X number of units or X number of
So I've
months?
done that before.
I don't doubt it because you're pretty creative about that kind
He's
of
been
stuff.
around for a long
Yeah,
time.
and I'm just saying that those are the kinds of things. And even if they have, oh, these are our go-to brokers over here, like, well, okay, but maybe give us a chance for 6 months or whatever it is, and see how we compare. How is this going to be a problem for you? I mean, I know you have relationships and you feel like you have to, be nice to these people. You might not get anywhere, but you might.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was all I was sort of thinking.
So
if
what
it-
happens is the builders, they have a team of people. A lot of times they have their own team of people,
Yeah.
depending on how big, Classic,
Right.
Richmond, all those guys, But then you have the small
That's what they were
builders that
saying,
want to
yeah.
build, right?
Yeah.
And like for me, I took over a builder one time, and I had to decide because I have to man a model every single day,
Yeah.
right? Except Mondays off because it was slow after the weekend. So every single day we had
So
to
6
have
days a
somebody
week
in there
you've got
8
to have
hours a
someone in
day,
there.
Yeah.
right? So you got to pay for that. You got to pay for all the advertising, all the signs directing them to the, that you see, all the builder signs everywhere. Then you have to list all the properties, and so somebody
Put out a lot of
like,
money.
let's say, somebody like Classic has somebody sitting in their model. They have all their team. They might get 1% per, but that's their team, right?
Yeah.
For me to get
And most
somebody
of
and pay somebody every single day a salary or hourly or whatnot.
Or a percentage.
Or let's
right?
say I have a salesperson in there, because that's what happened to me. I had people lined up in the brokerage sitting there, and they could sell a house, and then I would give them, like, I can't remember what it was at that time, but that was 1.5% or something. I'd give them if they sell one, because I still need the 1.5 to pay for the advertising.
So what's the
I would
upside for
charge
you?
3% to the
Okay.
builder,
Okay.
right? Because I kind of had to, because
Yeah, to
if
offset
I,
all the costs.
unless I paid somebody to sit there, paid them what, 3,000 a month or whatever, whatever the going rate
normal
is
salary.
at that time to sit there 40 hours a week, unless I'm willing to do that. Or I gotta split the commissions by getting agents in there to split, 1.5 each or whatever. So you have
more
to charge the builder
complicated.
3%. So if you get in there for 500 homes, I guess,
The economy of scale is different.
right, they
Yeah.
would be different.
Yeah.
Then I would probably say, I will pay for somebody to be in there for 40 hours, and maybe charge them 2%, or 1.5% or
Gibbons,
something.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
And the market isn't that right now.
Yeah.
No, I know,
Right,
I know. No one's building.
even no
500
one's building like that
units.
right now.
Right, yeah, if it's a huge
Classic
subdivision.
Yeah.
Richmond, all those
No one's building
those people, they're employees.
Yeah. And they're building
They're all
houses that are
employees.
They're
spoken
salaried
for right now.
employees.
How many people?
But
are
they're
on team?
licensed too, a lot of them are licensed.
Not all of them.
Not
most
all of them, some
Yeah.
of them.
Somebody's
if you're
got to be
working
licensed
for
to
a
put it in the
developer
MLS.
builder, you don't have to be licensed. If it's only their product,
Yeah.
you don't have to
Right.
be licensed, right?
No.
I don't think
No,
so.
Yeah. Yeah. Same with commercial, by the way.
Yeah,
But there's not any of those people. There's like not here in Colorado Springs anyway.
yeah.
Not one. There's not like a builder that builds 15 office buildings at a time. It just doesn't
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, but
they're-
there's,
But we
They
could
have
get to a
some.
market where this is a
Yeah.
thing here. This could be coming down the.
yeah. I mean, they
You know,
haven't been.
where builders
because
are
we
going to start.
did that with a builder. Remember you set the model, and it just
Actually-
got really boring, and it's like wasn't worth it. For
Right, I actually just looked up, Palomino Ranch has 4 listings right now, and 3 of them are over 100 days, and 2 of them are over 350 days on the market.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like sitting in the model. I think you set the model too.
Things probably
I
random
set the
now.
model. You set the model. I think.
And we all kind of.
we all went
And we
to
were
that
all
place.
going, "Oh my
We all
goodness,
went there.
this is so horrible."
Yeah, I went and
Like-
checked them out too.
Yeah, I mean they're great units, but the traffic. It was during 2024 last year. It was just deader than a doornail.
So what happens in like Fountain? They're building units in Fountain that are not part of the city, and they don't have city water. City, so they have to do the wells.
Oh, it's a struggle for them out there. They don't build.
But
Because
they
it's hard to
have
get a tap.
though. Yeah, but
Yeah,
they
they're
have.
limited. Yeah.
And you're kind of going, we don't have the water. They're taking water from other places, and then, you know, how do you have a lawn, or do you? I mean, can you take a bath? I don't know. I just think it's
if they
really.
don't have the water, they can't build anything. Nobody's gonna.
They're digging
Yes.
wells, though, right?
Well, they would establish an augmented well, an augmented. Is that the term? Augmented water plan. Adjudicated augmentation, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to a water court saying we're going to build X amount of houses
Until you
in
get
this
that
parcel, and we want to drill a community well, and
Oh.
they're not going to dig dirt, break dirt until they have water in place.
But then you can only
without
dig
water,
to a certain.
Without water, you don't have a product.
You have like this aquifer, and then once you kind of max out that one, you have to go lower until you get to the next level.
I don't know
And that
that
can
they
be
would
expensive
allow.
and not
Yeah.
even knowing if you're gonna hit water.
Well, as far as we're concerned, we don't even care about that. We just care about, is there a structure in place? Did you get, you know, are you building something? Are you starting something?
The,
It's just
the
an-
assumption
yeah.
is if the
Yeah.
state has given them, if there's a water system in place, then the state has approved it, meaning there's enough water for.
What's enough mean, though?
100
Yeah.
years.
What does enough water mean? That's the
100
thing that's
years.
really
100
scary.
years.
100
I think
years?
it's 100 year.
Interesting.
It's a 100-year floodplain,
There's a 100-year floodplain and 100, yeah, I think it's gotta be at least 100-year.
something like
I
that.
took a water class when I was in Teller County, that was like 20 years ago.
And you don't remember? Wow.
Well,
But I think you're close.
Well,
I think-
first of all, I'm in there, I'm going, oh, I should have brought alcohol. You know.
I have a lot listed out in Peyton, and I've had it on forever. And finally, I get this bite, and this guy says, "I really like this lot. I think I'm going to make an offer on it, and but I got to find out if I'm able to have a well." And I said, "Well, that's on you. You know, I'm just selling the raw dirt." He goes, "Well, I'm not going to buy it unless I know I can have a well." So he goes out and gets the well people to look at it, and they're like, "Well, if you dig a well and you can get into the Denver aquifer, it's like 30,000. If you can't get into the Denver, if they don't allow you in the Denver and they don't give you a permit, and you have to do the other aquifer, whichever one that was, it's like 90,000. So he's like, I have to, only way I'll buy this is if your people apply for a permit into the Denver aquifer, so I don't have to spend another
I
$60,000.
had to do that.
So it's like, wow, it's
Interesting.
$100 for the permit,
Wow.
but the difference between 30 and 90 is so humongous for an aquifer, right? I mean,
How much land is it?
5 acres.
Yeah.
I had to do that. Kelson, remember
Yeah.
the listing we had in
Yeah.
Divide? When he bought that land, it had 3 or 4 old cabins, like
Yeah.
1920s, and then a hand dug well that was pre 1973. You didn't need to permit that, but he wanted to buy this land, and this was like 2004 or 5, and it was a $500,000 deal back then
Yeah.
for 64 acres. So, and it was up in above Divide. So he was like, "Well, am I going to be able to drill a new well?
Because it's got a hand dug
Because
well.
it's got a hand dug well."
Yeah,
And
right.
I
How
does
said-
that preclude
I
you?
said, "Well, I called Division of Water, and they said you can." He says, "Well, no offense, but I don't want a phone call. I want something in writing."
Exactly. That's
So-
exactly
so
right.
we made the
That's right.
contract contingent on my
Permission.
buyer getting a well permit
Okay.
for a well before he can build his house.
That's exactly what.
And
we have to
I
do on
did
this
all
land.
that stuff. It was an amazing experience because this was before the cell phone like this.
Yeah, you could easily look it up.
So I had a
Flip phone.
an iPac, the PDA,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
and I'm doing the
A berry or whatever.
I'm doing the coordinates with that, and I sent everything in, and they sent it back. Failed because my coordinates would have put us somewhere near Flagler, which is I-70 east of
Yeah.
Denver.
You're right.
And I went,
Wrong
"Oh,
coordinates."
shit."
It's the divide.
I'm like,
Exactly.
so
We're way wrong.
so we had to hire a guy to go out. He only charged me $100, a surveyor to go out and give me.
Coordinates.
This is where we want to be, within 200 feet of here. Because we had a water witcher go out.
What does that mean?
The
They
people
have
with the
little
little
things
things.
I
and
and the
was
little
thinking like a
sticks.
device.
Yeah, exactly. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
Did it work?
They have
They
those, like,
find
and the
them.
yellow
Yeah.
pages.
It's
or whatever.
unbelievable.
So
Yeah.
I told, and the gal, the team I was on, she'd been working in there. I
I
mean,
don't know how that works.
she sold Pikes Peak. Okay,
No
she'd
one
been there
else
so
does
long.
either, Ron.
It works
And
though.
and the gal comes out and she's got two, like look like coat hangers that are like this on the L, this long to about this long.
Yeah.
And she's doing this. I'm like, crap! I forgot my voodoo chicken. Bone.
Yeah, right, yeah, for sure.
And she's swinging him around and she does walking and it's and all this and I'm calling bullshit. And she goes, okay, we have a vein here because up there you're not hitting aquifers, right? You're hitting fractured granite, so you're looking for little underground streams of water. And she goes, there's a vein that comes here, there's two more, one here and one here, and this area right here is kind of where they all, so I would, and so she staked it down and
And she was
That's
right.
the well.
that's that's where they put the well.
Yeah, right.
And
I had the same thing in Cripple Creek.
Yeah, and
the
I'm
guy's
going-
on top of a mountain, and the Witcher came out, and
Yeah.
he drilled there, and that's where he had to go. And, I don't know
and
how
they
that
were
works.
accurate.
Yeah.
That's so
How does
crazy.
that work?
Yeah.
Well, all I know is, I don't know,
So weird.
I still don't believe it.
I found I did find
Yeah, that's two of us.
I
Two
did
of us
find-
that have been
that
through
makes
that.
me
I
believe
did find a 4-leaf clover that day, so I'm
Oh well, then
You guys got
yeah.
real lucky that day.
Now you convinced me.
but it was getting like 1 3/4 gallons a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we did the well test, the fire agent couldn't be there, so I was for 4.5 hours. But it was down to just over 1. And I'm kind of freaking out, like, oh man, I'm just. But it was so deep that they had like from the water level to the house, the casing was like 650 gallons. So he said, you'll be fine. Family of 5, 6, you'll be good. And I was
Well, because they can also have a cistern that fills up
yeah, if they
at
needed
1
to.
gallon,
But
a minute or a half gallon a minute. That's what's so beautiful.
it
about
was
those
a trip.
cisterns.
I'm like going, wow, because I'm gonna make like $16,000 on this deal, and I've got like somebody practicing the occult.
Right?
But I don't know. Is it the occult? Is it?
No, I think it's
something-
with the energy
It's
and whatever's
something
in
with
the
the
metal.
water and the metal. That's
Yeah.
what I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is a science behind
Yeah,
it.
it's a
If
science.
there's some
It's
type
not-
of there's
They just call it a witcher because
it can pick up the
It's just
frequency
weird.
or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it
Interesting.
even in TV where
Yeah.
the gold. They're looking for
yeah.
water and they're trying to find
Yeah.
the
But they
spot.
struck gold instead. What a drag.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
They do it
That's a
for the
great
water because
story,
they have
though.
so
What's
much
the
water.
silver crab?
It's
You
true.
throw out the rocks and stuff.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
see them out there doing that, and it's like that's pretty stinking amazing how they know.
That's pretty wild. You kind of think that, they have some engineering, things that they've done that they don't tell you about. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Little
No, but
trick.
these people are just. But it's interesting because the hand dug well, it's that well that's hand dug was in a valley, right? Two mountains coming together, and there's like a little stream. Well, they hand dig the well in the valley, and can you imagine back there in 1820? There was
Yeah.
no stores around, no Walmarts or nothing. You're clear out there in
imagine.
Divide, and you're digging
Just
and
shoveling.
digging, and you. Oh my goodness,
I was-
it's unbelievable.
I was out there in the
Like granite.
wintertime showing it once, and I'm thinking, this
Misery.
this cabin that was half the size of, maybe 3/4 the size of this room, somebody lived there and existed 12 months a year.
The 4 cabins.
Yeah,
four
there was
cabins.
Yeah.
They were one room. They weren't even as big as this room.
Oh.
They were probably like a wall here that big.
And the big cabin was like 700 square feet.
Yeah, that might
Were
have
they
been not
miners?
as big as a
The
room.
mining cabins?
No, I
Is that
think
what
they
they
were
were?
all
family or
adults.
something.
No, not mining. No, were they mining
It
out
must
there?
have been. Yeah, it must have been.
Were they miners?
And they even had a stable.
They were adults.
They even had a stable where he kept the
A corral for the horses.
Yeah, but they kept the motorcycles in there. But
yeah,
in the
it's just-
1820s, that was
That's
for
crazy.
their horses.
it was a
But
trip.
they were way up there, man. I mean, way up there, you know where Golden Bell is.
Yeah.
It was up there, but you know,
It
that
was
in the
north of-
1820s was out in
of
the middle of
that, yeah.
nowhere.
Wow.
I mean, Cripple Creek was probably the closest city, maybe. Because the miners,
Well, divide is divide because it's not on the continental divide, but it was the central point between Colorado Springs and Cripple Creek.
Oh, is that right? That's why they
Is that
called
what
it
that is?
Yeah.
I thought it was because you go over that hill.
No, I thought it was
Divide.
too. It was.
Oh,
It had to do with. It was the divide, the intersection, or it was close to the middle point of
Well, when
getting
was-
from Cripple Creek to
when was our
Colorado.
city founded then? Does anybody know?
Our city?
1876.
1876?
I don't know. I said the state was.
Oh, you're talking about the city of Divide?
Yeah, no,
Oh.
the city of Colorado Springs.
Oh, of Colorado Springs.
1861.
Oh, I don't know.
So, are you sure those were 1820?
No, it was 1920s. One of
1920s.
One of them was 18, like 18,
1819.
or
That's a
something.
century.
It's still out in the middle. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a century off.
That's all.
It was the 1920s. But one of them was like the oldest one was 1870s.
You're not going to redeem yourself.
Oh.
No, I said 1920s.
Okay.
He said 1820s.
I sold it.
I thought he said 1820.
Rewind the tape.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Either way, you sold it.
That horse my red flag.
You know, one thing that'll make you all jealous is like you're talking about how you have to like sort of take responsibility and call and do all this stuff. I mean, in general, commercial brokers don't really do that because everything that you do that's like that creates liability. I know it kind of creates liability for you guys too.
Absolutely. Well,
But it's not worth it. You know, it's
I've
just,
learned over
yeah.
the years. It's like we need, like this last deal. I kind of had to do everything because he was out of town. I'm going, well, here's a couple guys that we can call, and he says, well, why don't you call him? I says, great, I'll call him and I'll give him your contact information, like for a radon system and stuff like that. But for the most part, I used to be, yeah, I'll take care of all that. And then I'm thinking, well, people get so, I mean, if something breaks, if somebody does fixes something and it doesn't work, these people come back to me going, thanks, Dave. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't even want to take a class on lead-based paint. Because now I know more,
Yeah.
and the more you know, it's just like, look, I'm just a dumb
More
realtor.
liability you
Plausible.
create.
And I used to follow the inspector around. I'm taking notes, and
Oh, I do that.
Oliver Frascona once says, "It's not your job."
He was
Yeah.
cool. I liked him.
Oh, I loved him. He was so great. He'd say, if you do that and they say, well, this is a material defect, and you were there when they showed it to him, then now you're implying a level of expertise that you don't know anything about.
I don't know if that's true. If you
Well,
follow
so-
around an inspector, then you're sort of liable because you're following them around.
Yeah.
I've learned so much by following around inspectors
I do that all
over
the
the
I always
thousand.
follow this.
Like, and now I don't do it anymore. Well, I hardly have any buyers, but anyway.
The reason it's good, don't you think, Rob, is that the buyer or seller, whoever it is that's there with the inspector will say something, and they'll hear something different. And if
Oh,
you're not
totally.
there
Yeah.
to go,
Oh.
wait, that's not what he said.
And
I hear
that's-
the
Yeah.
inspector
Yeah.
go, oh, this furnace is dirty, it needs cleaned by a professional or whatever. And I know what that means. It doesn't mean that it's a bad furnace,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I have to tell my people, that doesn't mean it's a bad furnace. He just says that because he's not an HVAC technician.
Yeah.
So we can get somebody to come in and clean and service the furnace.
What I do now is I will, the inspector will say, if you want to, to the buyer, you want to follow me around, great, but I will let you know if there's any red flags I see. And then I'll ask, what are you seeing? And
Beautiful.
I know enough to know, okay, this is a normal thing, this isn't. And I tell my clients,
Patio home.
we have to, if you ask for everything, they may not do any of it. So think of the things that you really, really want done.
No, we used to ask for everything
Yeah.
and end up with.
Because
I got
sellers,
opposite mentality.
and it all depends on the client,
Yeah,
and
it
the
does.
market
It
too.
does.
you
Yeah,
know.
it does.
I had a buyer, I had a seller, and the buyer, we get under contract,
Something about
and
St. Patrick's Day.
the
parade, and she's
buyer
like,
agent
"We're gonna
says,
get
thank God.
And so
We-
I'm doing
we've
one in
written
Snowball
11
Ford on Sunday.
contracts.
That's actually on my street.
And then when we get to inspection phase, they had like
I live on
9
Silver Glen,
things.
so it's
So,
Silver
well-
Glen Snowball Court right there. Yeah,
I
so
know they
I'm,
were
like,
very
literally, like,
thankful to get
just
under
right now.
contract,
Yeah.
mainly because
Okay.
they liked
So,
their house,
no, I
but
drove by
also
yesterday.
because they've been trying to buy a
And
house
what's
for
nice is there's
11
that Cross
contracts.
Creek
So
Church.
this is the
That's
12th.
right behind it right there.
So
God, that was-
I don't
direct
think
to
they're
work on
gonna,
traffic.
if
It
you don't
doesn't
wanna do
matter.
these things,
Sunday from 12 to 3.
don't do them.
Yeah, which I think
And if-
Amanda.
if they're
So
gonna
this
walk
is like
over
the
700
buyer's
bucks,
agent telling
went to
you
the
this
agent
Yeah.
resource thing,
without
put it in there.
permission?
Totally.
So Scott should.
I said-
Scott should have probably saw that.
And-
Hello.
Hey, you know we're doing
Yeah, and I'm going,
on Snowball Court.
well, he
on
just
Sunday
said
from
this.
4 to 3.
So at that point, I say, here's what he told me.
Did you guys already?
Good, that's what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we did a couple things that needed to be.
No, because I don't.
And the rest of it was like, you know, $1,000,
You guys
that's on
should
you.
let me know
And
about
they,
that.
they accepted it.
It's like
They
it's-
That's a good thing.
Close.
Yeah, you gave him a
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for him.
That's
just
kind of
like-
noble.
So I'm sure it'll work.
Okay.
Well,
it's
thank you
vacant,
so
isn't
much.
it?
No,
Blast.
people live there. It's a pastor that lives there.
Oh, I thought they already moved. Oh.
What you doing?
You have the greatest stories
Man,
about
my
pastors
emails.
too.
Yeah.
He's a pastor.
You were talking about jobs that were loading stuff.
Oh, Coca-Cola.
Oh,
Yeah,
see,
okay.
and then where you guys gonna
Yikes.
be?
That sounds like a hard job.
It's very physically demanding,
Yeah.
but
You have to lift weights
We're
after.
gonna do
Yeah,
one.
no.
You're doing that all the time.
Wasn't
Yeah, tons
your
of cardio.
aunt's house?
Yeah.
Downhill.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were.
strength and
that's the one that
cardio.
she said
And
she
what could
didn't
you
wanna
ask
do on
for?
Saturday
And get
because
paid.
of this.
I'm sorry, that's a
so-
shit.
Oh, no, it's
Yeah.
rough. It's just like